I am Ravi Kiran. I am the DevOps trainer for this batch. Okay, guys, so I'm a DevOps engineer by profession. Okay, and I carry over 4 years of work experience, real-time work experience only in DevOps with AWS Cloud. And the same is what I'm teaching for various batches. And so before I continue explaining you what is DevOps and why do we need it, I would want to ask if you know, just raise your hand on Zoom. Uh, does anybody know DevOps or AWS? Did they took any kind of a training or watched any videos online? Did anybody do that? DevOps. If you have heard what is DevOps or what is cloud, okay. So so everybody are new to the software industry, but they want to get into software industry, IT industry by learning some codes. Okay, so if people are already from computers background here, they know any technology, they might know Java, they might know something, any technology, and they might be going to a coding related or programming language related courses. But people who are not related to technical background, okay, they have not done their engineering, but then they have completed the graduation in different branches. They might not have any knowledge about programming or uh, or any technology, correct? So DevOps, to learn DevOps, the first thing you need to know is this course does not need any prerequisite, which I mean that you should not be in a state that you should be learning everything and then come to DevOps, not required. So DevOps is for those people who want to understand the entire uh, project structure and how is the project structure. If you go to any software company, so what they do, they develop applications, right? They develop applications, they develop softwares. So in the process of this developing applications or softwares or writing some code, like on a superficial view, from a high level, if you are seeing the application from the start, from the point where your client will come and explain you the requirements until the application is developed and it is released in the market, right? This entire process, if you want to see from a top level, and if you can manage this process in a smart way, in a better way, in an efficient way, that is when you want to know DevOps. And in this process of learning DevOps, you will not be learning any programming language, but then you will understand every step of this process. And what you will be doing, that we will be learning in this course. Okay. So now, in the software industry, you might have known that, right, there are many projects which are being developed every quarter or probably every financial year. Companies will receive requirements from different organizations. You can take Dell, Wipro, or IBM. Like, there are so many big giants in the market, and what they do, for example, if you take Dell, they have their own hardware manufacturing and software manufacturing, so they develop applications which can be used with these softwares and hardware. If you take Wipro, the big company, they will be supporting any third party, other people who have a requirement for software development or any hardware development. So Wipro is like outsourcing, they help others. IBM you take, so every organization, Infosys you take, there, all these big organizations which are there in the market, they want either to develop something or support who needs that kind of applications, right? So first we will understand what is this software application process and why do we need DevOps, right? So we will see that. So what is DevOps now? DevOps, first of all, let me tell you, DevOps is not some programming language, or DevOps is not some tool like you learn testing tools, you learn some ticketing tools. No, DevOps is not a tool. DevOps is not a technology. DevOps is just a process. It's a methodology how you can achieve your outputs in a smart way, in an automatic way, and in a efficient way that can be helpful to the end user and the client. So DevOps is a process, and there are, you can see, there are some very big giants like, Amazon, Netflix, Walmart, and Facebook. All these companies, they have increased their revenue by implementing DevOps culture in their organizations, right? So let us understand like what is there in the DevOps. Even NASA is behind DevOps culture. You know NASA, right? Such a big giant, right? These big organizations, they implemented DevOps and they are doing it now, and that's why they are able to achieve their outputs in a smart way and efficient way, right? So first thing, before learning DevOps, you should understand is software development lifecycle. Many people might have heard this, but if people did not hear, if neither of you heard this, understand that software development lifecycle means from the scratch, from the point where, if you are an individual and you have a thought that, nowadays everybody has Android phone in their hand. Okay, in the Android phone, you might be thinking that if I have an application that can tell me when is my next public transportation available from my location, if I just open this app, it should tell me. And if I open this app, I should be seeing this doctor requirement, these things. So everything in my hand, if I have a plan like this, now this is making me a client. This thought which you have in your mind that you want to have an application which will be helping me in these features. So then what you will do, that you have a plan now, you have a plan, you want these features in your application, you will go to some software company, you will go to a software company and tell them, see, I want you guys to develop me an application, and this application should function like this. It should show me my location, it should show me these features, my data, everything. This should be in the application. So can you develop me this application? That is what I would go and ask a company. So I, being a client to that company, the company will now start planning the software development lifecycle. Okay, so in the software development lifecycle, what are the different stages? That is what we are going to see now. Software development lifecycle can also be called as SDLC, and these are the different stages in a software development lifecycle. So I am a client right now. I am going to a company, and I'm asking them, I want these features. So what happens is, let me share my screen. Participants can log your application. Yeah, that's what I want. Guys, you can see my screen, right? Kamlakar?
Yes, yes, it is visible.
Yeah. Right. So I wanted to show you this slide, software development lifecycle, and in this, what I wanted to show you is the each and individual step, right? So the first step, when I as a client go to a company and explain them, this is my requirement, the company will start their planning. What do you mean by planning is, acha, this client need this requirements. So if he need these requirements, what I should be having in my company. So I should be having, these many computers, and in these computers I should have these softwares installed, and for these softwares I need these many people. I need 10 developers, I need 10 testers, I need 10 operations team. Like this, the planning will begin after the client comes and explain his requirement, right? So once the planning is decided, then the second phase is analysis. So in this analysis phase, what the company will tell the client is, see, Mr. Client, as per your requirement, this will take, let's say, 6 months of time. This will take 6 months of time, and this is the amount which will cost you, and you need to make these kind of payments to this, so that we can start preparing or developing the application. And after 6 months or in between, we will be letting you know what is the progress, and finally we will give you the output. So this kind of information will be shared in the second phase with the client. Once this information is like said okay from the client, then it will start the development phase, that is the designing phase of that application. Okay, so the design development team will take their own time, and in this time they will develop a application that can be tested, that can be implemented onto our computers. And this is not for public. In the organization they have some testing computers. So in this testing computers, which they call as servers, in these servers this development team will put that application and give that to the testing team. So testing team will check everything. So is the application working according to the client's requirements, and is the application performing good, is the application maintaining the load, is the application opening fast? All these kind of tests the testing team will test. In case if the testing team finds any of the feature is not matching with the client's requirement, the testing team will again send it to the development team and ask them to fix that issues. So testing team, development team again will fix those issues. They will, give it to the implementation, that is putting it in a testing server. Testing again will happen. Again, testing will check for things, and if they feel that everything is good to go, then finally they will put it into the production server, and that will be available for the public. Okay, so before they put it in the public, one more step what they will do here is they will cross check with the client. They will call up client and ask them to see if the application is as per his requirements, and whatever the features he have asked to put, he will be asked to check everything. So once the client is also giving green signal, that is when it will go for the public in the public servers, production servers. So after the application is live for the public, then starts the maintaining phase. Means as the new users are coming to access this application, obviously they need some team to maintain the hard disk storage of the server, processors, how they are performing, if the load is increasing. If initially they thought 100 users might come, but gradually as the application is performing well, they got more than 100, they got 500 customers, right? So if they are getting more number of customers, there should be a maintenance team who will be checking all these kind of things, and upon need they might have to increase the capacity of this server. Like that, maintaining phase will continuously go on, right? This cycle is an infinite cycle. As the new requirements are coming, analysis will happen, design will happen, deployment, testing, maintenance, everything will happen, and again. This process is called the software development life cycle. And this is the process since IT industry has emerged. Since that time, this is the same process. Okay, so this was going good. This was going good, everything was like planning is going good, analysis design, new people are coming, everything is going absolute, new technology is coming in the market, everything was going good. But the fact that out of 100 projects which are planned, okay, almost 40 to 50 or probably 30 to 40% of projects are failing. You can also Google this information. You can Google it and see the percentage of the projects which are planned, and the percentage those projects, 30 to 40% of the projects are failing, because here the problem between the development team and the testing team, whatever the development team is developing, the time taking for the testing team to test it and send it back again to the developers, and developers changing the features, this process between the development team and testing team was increasing on timelines. And after 6 months of time period, most of the things what happening is, client initially said that he want a different application, but after 6 months they are getting entirely a new application, features are not appropriate to him. So there are many other reasons why this 30 to 40% of projects are getting failed. Only 60% or 50% of the projects which are successful is what we are using in the current market. So let me give you an example. At the time of WhatsApp, when WhatsApp was released in the market, do we have any other messaging applications at that time? In fact, we had many other applications. We had Viber, we have many other chatting applications and voice calling applications. But why WhatsApp is the successful one? Because of its features and its accessibility and its integration with your phone contacts. So the features which are being tested and implemented with DevOps culture in developing the WhatsApp application made WhatsApp that successful even today, despite many projects are coming to meet the whatever the WhatsApp is providing. The same kind of features also they are providing, but they are not that successful. Take example of Telegram. It's only a business application. It's not a home and friendly application, right? Like Telegram, there are many other high applications, are there, chat applications. They did not follow the procedures. They are failed projects now. Whatever the investment they have kept, everything is gone because they did not follow this process. They did not implemented this culture. 30 to 40% of projects, imagine, they are failing. Only this percent are successful. Okay, so now what is that DevOps doing that is making the application successful and making the project successful? What is that big thing DevOps is doing? Let us see in the next slide. So if we divide this software development life cycle into two phases, okay. First phase is developers phase, in which you will have the planning, analysis and development phase. And the second phase is the operations phase, right? So where you will have implementation, testing and maintenance, right? So the major difference or probably the problem is coming between these two phases only, because whatever the development and the client was planning initially was not meeting with the end results in the operations phase. So this gap between the development phase and the operations phase is togetherly called as your DevOps team. So the dev team and your operations team combinedly has formed a new team, that is your DevOps team. And this DevOps team builds the gap between the developer phase and the operations phase. And whatever the timeline gaps are there, the quality gaps are there, or the planning gaps are there. All these gaps are adjusted and maintained and build between these two teams, and making the project successful is what DevOps actually does, right? So if you see the DevOps infinite life cycle also, you will see, you will observe the same difference. See, planning, analysis, design, implementation, testing. Now, once you see this now, this is the DevOps infinite life cycle. If you see, the same stages will be here also. Planning, and there you will be seeing, design. That design is called here coding, and after, implementation is what you're seeing here, building, testing, and finally you release it. Then you start monitoring it, right? So whatever you have seen in the previous slide is what the same which you are seeing in the DevOps cycle also. So whatever the gap between these two teams was there, it was fixed with the help of DevOps team. So now what does this DevOps team do? What does this DevOps team do is, like, they have, this DevOps team should know each and every phase. In every phase, what happens is what DevOps team should know. So how can they know? How can a DevOps team know in what happens in each and every phase? Means DevOps team not only is involving in these each phases, they create the environment. For example, if the development team wants to develop their code, DevOps team will provide them the computer infrastructure. If the development team wants to implement this code, again, this environment is what being set up by the DevOps team. So only the setup guys, whatever the tools that are used in this phase, you don't have to know the tools. Just you need to set up that infrastructure, just that infrastructure only. For testing also, if you have heard the terms like Selenium, quick test professional, okay, there are some, these are some examples of testing tools. Okay, so again, as a DevOps engineer, you need not know or learn those tools. Only you need to set up a place where you can install that tool. So, if you want to install Selenium, you just have to install it here and give that server to the testing team. That's it. So whatever the process is there, the testing team will do. You only have to set up the environment. Same in every stage. You only set up the environment and maintain that environment. That is what we DevOps engineers do. We set up the infrastructure and we maintain it. We don't have to write logical coding. We don't have to learn Python, Java. No, not read it. Just set up the infrastructure, maintain that infrastructure. That is the only thing. So you might ask me, sir, only set upping the infrastructure, why is DevOps that big? Why is DevOps a big, game changer in the job market? Means we develop the infrastructure, correct? We set up the infrastructure, but that infrastructure which we are developing, everything is command line based. So you need to know all the commands, like, how you're operating your Windows operating system. Similarly, you need to operate Linux operating system. In each stage, almost all the tools will work on Linux operating. And even if you go to any organization, any big company or small company, their servers will be Linux servers only. And in Linux servers, chances that you will have a graphical interface is very less. Everything is command based. You know why they have put everything in command based? Because of security reasons. Companies don't want their applications to be hacked easily. Companies want their applications to be highly secure. And Linux operating system is one such a operating system where you can keep your applications highly secure. And that is the big ask from a DevOps engineer. They should know Linux environment, right? Okay. So one more thing in this DevOps, this infinite life cycle which you are seeing here, right? In this life cycle, I told you that each phase you need to set up a infrastructure, right? So there are different tools that can help us to set up that infrastructure. So let me show you some rough picture of different tools that can be used. See this. So in the coding phase, there are tools like, Git, Jira, Confluence. Again, you will not learn coding. Only you set up the infrastructure with the help of these tools. And you don't have to know all the tools. Any one tool for each one phase. For coding phase, you might have to use one tool. And for building, you might have to use one tool. Testing, one tool. Release, one tool. So in each phase, you might have to know at least one tool so that you can manage the entire DevOps life cycle. So to set up the infrastructure, I'm repeating once again, guys, you don't have to learn anything. These are tools. So you only have to manage those tools with the commands. So only thing what I'm asking is you have to remember. You don't have to write logical lines of code. Some hundreds and thousands of coding is not needed. Just understand the tool and remember the commands. That's it. Okay. So in this training, you will learn these tools. Okay. So here in Git actually used by developers only. You will not be using Git much, but you should know what the developers are doing with this tool, because when they have any error, when they are not able to use this Git tool, you go to them and fix the issue. So in order us to fix the issue, we will see what the developers are doing after they write the code with the Git tool. And it is very easy tool. Hardly 4 to 5 commands are there in it that are pretty easy. In build phase, you don't have to learn Maven nor understand Maven, only install it. How you will install your applications in your Windows operating system? Like if you want to install VLC player or Zoom, if you want to install Zoom on your computer, what you will do? You will download and you have an exe file, you double click on that exe file, it will open, it will install. Correct. The same thing here in Linux, you will install this application. But as in Linux, we do not have graphical interface. Everything is installing is also through commands only. Pretty easy commands are there, which can be easily understood and remembered. Right now, out of this and this, your interference will be very less. In Git and Maven, your interference will be very less. But in testing, again, I told you, um, there is one testing tool called Selenium. Okay. So again, you don't have to know Selenium, only install Selenium. That's it. Okay. So how you install Maven here? Same, you will install Selenium. As a DevOps engineer, the first tool which you will be having a graphical user interface is Jenkins. So everything is graphical. You can see what is happening. And this is the main guy, Jenkins. He helps in automating tasks. Everything one time you have to set up, and after setting up, everything will happen automatically. If you fix a time that every Monday or every Friday evening this should be running, you can set that timing and Jenkins will take care of that rest. So in a DevOps engineer role, this Jenkins is one such a tool you need to concentrate on good amount. Okay, and going forward, you will be learning AWS Cloud, Amazon Web Services. AWS means Amazon Web Services, and this is also something graphical user interface. Everything is visible, like your Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint. How you have everything visible, na? Same in AWS also. All the services are visible and graphical, and you just have to learn where to click, what to do. Okay, in AWS there are more than hundreds and hundreds of services. Out of those hundreds of services, you will be learning hardly 10 services maybe.